The golden light of dawn stretches across the plains of Sabi sand, casting long shadows over the swaying grasses. The silence of the savanna is shattered by a deep, resonant roar that echoes like a declaration of dominance. This is the territory of the Mapogos, a legendary coalition of lions that ruled these lands with brutal strength and relentless strategy. At the heart of this group stood a unique lion, Cola Torsa, or Shaka. With his imposing figure and a distinctive scar on his tail, he was more than just a leader. He was a symbol of strength, intelligence, and determination. Beside him was his inseparable brother, Mr. T, equally fierce and admired. Together, they formed the indestructible core of the coalition, blending physical power and cunning into an almost invincible alliance. The Mapogos were not just a coalition of lions. They were a force of nature. From the moment they emerged onto the plains, they left a trail of absolute dominance. No rival coalition dared challenge them, and even the most experienced predators retreated in their presence. Yet, in a realm where power is constantly tested, each day brought new challenges. For the Mapogos, the battle for survival never ceased. Sabi Sand was not merely a vast territory. It was an arena of life and death, where the strong thrived and the weak were eliminated. The Mapogos, with their reign of blood and fire, were the undisputed kings of this landscape. But what made Cola Torsa special was not just his brute strength. It was his ability to inspire loyalty and fear, to plan each move like a master strategist. This is the beginning of the story of a lion whose legend transcended time, a leader who fought until his last breath to protect what was his. This is the journey of Cola Torsa, the king of the savannah. The savannah sun was at its peak when the Mapogo coalition emerged as a dominant force. 6 strong and determined males, each with unique skills and traits, united by a common goal: total dominance. The group was not just a convenience-based alliance. It was a brotherhood forged in the fires of battle and the struggle for survival. Cola Torsa quickly stood out as one of the group's natural leaders. His majestic presence, marked by a thick mane and the distinctive scar on his tail that gave him his name, was paired with a sharp, strategic mind. Beside him was Mr. T, known for his fierce aggression and relentless determination. Together, they formed the indomitable core of the Mapogos, blending physical strength with tactical intelligence. The Mapogos' rise began with a series of brutal confrontations. The coalition did not claim their 70,000 hectares of territory through intimidation alone. They fought for every inch of land. Other coalitions attempted to resist but were quickly subdued. Each battle was not just a test of strength but a demonstration of Cola Torsa's strategic prowess and his ability to lead others. One of the most memorable battles was against a rival coalition of 3 males who attempted to invade the newly conquered Mapogo territory. In a remarkable scene, Cola Torsa led the charge, strategically isolating the rival leader while Mr. T and other Mapogos eliminated the remaining opponents. Within hours, the 3 intruders were defeated, further solidifying the Mapogos' reputation as unbeatable rulers. Hello guys, if you like our stories and haven't subscribed yet, support our work and subscribe to the channel to help us. The coalition's success was not limited to battles. Cola Torsa was equally effective at strengthening bonds within the group. Despite the inevitable tensions that arise in such a large coalition, he managed to maintain unity among his brothers. When internal disputes threatened to arise, his dominant presence was enough to restore order. As the Mapogos expanded their territory across the savannah, their influence grew not only in size but also in intensity. Females from neighboring prides began joining the group, increasing their numbers and strengthening their position. Hunts became more efficient, with the coalition working in perfect synchrony to bring down large prey, such as buffalo and even giraffes. With their territory expanding weekly, the Mapogos didn't just survive, they thrived. For 2 years, they ruled as absolute kings, facing every challenge with brutality and efficiency. But in the unforgiving world of the savannah, no kingdom lasts forever. As their influence grew, so did the envious eyes of rival coalitions. And as Cola Torsa well understood, the greatest test was yet to come. With their dominance consolidated, life in the savannah seemed for a brief moment, to reach a rare balance for the Mapogos. Cola Torsa, Mr. T, and the other members of the coalition enjoyed the power they had worked so hard to achieve. Yet, even in the savannah, moments of peace were laden with tension, as the threat of intruders was never far away. During the day, the group often rested under the shade of large trees, keeping a vigilant watch over their territory. The savannah's heat was oppressive, but nothing could shake Cola Torsa's constant attention. He knew every inch of the land they ruled, every waterhole vital for the survival of the prides under their protection. His presence was a constant in the landscape, as if the territory were an extension of his very soul. The females of the nearby prides formed the backbone of the Mapogos' dominance. With more females under their protection came cubs, symbolizing the coalition's future. Cola Torsa was often seen patrolling the edges of the prides, ensuring no threats approached. Fierce with rivals, he displayed an unusual gentleness toward the cubs, allowing them to play near him without ever fully letting down his guard. Within the group, the dynamics were complex. Cola Torsa and Mr. T were the undisputed leaders, but other members, like Dreadlocks and Rasta, showed signs of restlessness. Internal disputes occasionally arose, often driven by competition for access to females or food. In these moments, Cola Torsa rarely needed to resort to violence. A single firm glance or a growl was enough to re-establish order. The nights were moments of extreme vigilance. The starry savanna sky offered little protection against intruders who might approach under cover of darkness. During these hours, Cola Torsa and Mr. T often patrolled together, their roars echoing as warnings to any rival daring to cross their borders. In these patrols, the bond between the two brothers became even more evident. They worked as a synchronized unit, each completely trusting the other. Despite their strength, the reign of the Mapogos was not without challenges. Smaller predators, like hyenas, frequently tried to steal their prey. Cola Torsa, with his patience and precision, rarely let these attacks go unpunished. On one memorable occasion, he and Mr. T were seen facing off against a pack of more than 20 hyenas, a conflict that ended with the disordered retreat of the hyenas, their nervous laughter echoing into the night. However, even in moments of peace, there was a sense of something looming. The territory was vast, but the threats were many. Cola Torsa knew that each day of tranquility was preparation for the next great challenge. The balance of the savannah was as unstable as the flame of a candle in the wind, and the flame of the Mapogos was soon to face its greatest storm. The reign of the Mapogos seemed unshakable. For more than 2 years, no rival had dared to challenge the relentless strength of Cola Torsa, Mr. T, and their brothers. Yet in the savannah, the balance of power is as fleeting as seasonal rains. Amidst the silence, a new threat began to rise on the horizon. The Majinjalane coalition, 5 young, vigorous males determined to take what the Mapogos had conquered. The arrival of the Majinjalane was announced with a distant roar, like thunder heralding a storm. Cola Torsa was patrolling with Mr. T when they detected the scent of intruders at the eastern edge of their territory. The two brothers did not hesitate. They roared in response, a clear warning that they were ready to defend what was theirs. In the days that followed, encounters between the two coalitions began to intensify. At first, there were only signs, tracks on the ground, claw marks on trees, and exchanged roars in the darkness. But soon, direct confrontations began. In one of the first battles, the Mapogos faced the 5 Majinjalane for the first time. Despite being outnumbered, Cola Torsa and Mr. T led a fierce attack, forcing the rivals to retreat. However, what initially seemed like a victory was, in fact, only the beginning of a prolonged war. The Majinjalane were unlike any rivals the Mapogos had ever faced. They were young and vigorous, but also methodical. Instead of directly confronting the Mapogos continuously, they used guerrilla tactics, exploiting the weaknesses of the larger coalition. They attacked the edges of the territory, isolated less experienced members, and constantly tested the Mapogos' limits. Tension began to spread within the group itself. With the constant incursions by the Majinjalane, the Mapogos faced a dilemma. The territory they had conquered was too vast to be defended in its entirety. Cracks began to form within the Brotherhood. Some members, like Dreadlocks, started to avoid direct confrontations, choosing instead to focus on safer areas. But Cola Torsa and Mr. T remained steadfast. For them, surrendering any part of the territory was unacceptable. One of the most striking confrontations occurred on a full moon night. The Majinjalane crossed the river marking the eastern border and infiltrated deep into Mapogo territory. Cola Torsa led the defense, facing the leader of the Majinjalane in a brutal battle. The roars of lions and the sound of claws tearing at the ground echoed across the savannah as the two giants clashed under the watchful gaze of the stars. In the end, the Majinjalane retreated once again, but the cost was high. Cola Torsa suffered deep wounds, and the coalition began to grasp the magnitude of the threat they faced. Over time, the attacks became more frequent and coordinated. The Majinjalane displayed relentless determination, taking advantage of every opportunity to wear down the Mapogos. The savannah, which once seemed like an unshakable kingdom for Cola Torsa, now became an uncertain battlefield. Despite this, he remained unyielding. His eyes fixed on the stars seemed to reflect the strength that still drove him. He knew that the war was just beginning and that the coalition's fate would depend on his courage and leadership. The full moon hung high in the sky, casting its pale light over the silent savannah. Cola Torsa was wounded. His paws bore the weight of recent battles, and deep scars marked his body, testaments to his unrelenting determination. Mr. T, ever by his side, also showed signs of fatigue, but his eyes shone with the ferocity of one still willing to fight. The two lions knew the final confrontation was near. The Majinjalane coalition had not fully retreated. They were waiting, watching, and planning. That night, the roars of the Majinjalane cut through the silence like sharp blades. They had entered the heart of the Mapogos territory, directly challenging the dominance. Cola Torsa did not hesitate. With a roar that seemed to carry the weight of all his history, he summoned Mr. T and charged toward the enemy. The air was thick with the scent of impending conflict. When the two coalitions met, the tension was palpable. The Majinjalane, now led by a strong and cunning male, appeared confident. Cola Torsa, even with his weakened body, moved forward first. He knew it was not just a matter of defending the territory but of preserving the Mapogos' legacy. With a precise leap, he attacked the Majinjalane leader, initiating a fierce battle. The fight was brutal. Cola Torsa fought as if he were indestructible, ignoring the pain tearing through his muscles with every movement. Mr. T, at his side, took down any rival daring to approach. The two brothers fought as a unit, as they had done so many times before. But the Majinjalane leader was young and vigorous. Despite Cola Torsa's experience and strength, the battle began to tip against him. Finally, in a desperate move, Cola Torsa managed to bring down the rival leader, sinking his fangs into the enemy's neck and ending the battle with a bitter victory. But the cost was high. His wounds were now severe, and his body trembled with exhaustion. Mr. T tried to guide him back to a safe place, but Cola Torsa knew the war was not yet over. A few hours later, while Cola Torsa was recovering, the four remaining Majinjalane reappeared. They had lost their leader but were more determined than ever. Mr. T was in another part of the territory, and Cola Torsa realized he was alone. Wounded, exhausted, and with no real chance of victory, he had a choice: flee and live to fight another day, or stay and face his destiny. Cola Torsa did not flee. With a final roar that seemed to challenge the very gods of the savannah, he charged toward the four males. The ensuing battle was uneven, but Cola Torsa did not retreat for an instant. He fought with a ferocity that momentarily left his enemies hesitant, as if they could not believe a lion in his condition could still resist. However, the numerical superiority of the Majinjalane was insurmountable. One by one, they immobilized Cola Torsa. His movements slowed, his strength waned. Finally, a precise blow broke his spine, ending the fight. Even then, his eyes remained fixed on his rivals, as if challenging them to the very last moment. When Mr. T arrived, it was already too late. He found his brother fallen, defeated, but still surrounded by signs of his resistance. The Majinjalane had left, carrying with them victory, but also a silent respect for the warrior they had brought down. Mr. T roared into the night, a sound laden with pain and rage, before disappearing into the darkness. Cola Torsa, the heart of the Mapogos, had fallen, but his death was not in vain. He not only protected the territory he loved, but also left a legacy of courage and determination that would resonate in the savannah for years to come. The savannah seemed quieter after Cola Torsa's fall. The roar that once echoed as a declaration of power was now just a memory. Yet, his impact on the history of the savannah and on wildlife remained as vibrant as the sun that rose every morning. Cola Torsa, the legendary leader of the Mapogos, was gone, but his legacy was impossible to erase. For more than 8 years, Cola Torsa was a symbol of strength, leadership, and resilience. He was not just a lion. He was a force that shaped the balance of power in the savannah. During the Mapogos' reign, he and his brothers redefined what it meant to be a dominant coalition. They did not simply conquer lands. They inspired fear and respect, both in their rivals and in those who shared the territory with them. His death marked the beginning of the Mapogos' decline. Without Cola Torsa, the coalition was never the same. Mr. T continued to fight, carrying with him the pain of losing his brother and battle partner. He too would meet a tragic end, surrounded by rivals, just like Cola Torsa, but always faithful to the unyielding spirit the two had shared. As the Majinjalane took control of the savannah, the memory of Cola Torsa remained alive. He became a legend, a symbol of the grandeur and challenges of wildlife. Documentaries, books, and oral stories perpetuated his tale, transforming his life into an example of what it means to fight until the end, not just for survival, but for what one believes is right. To human observers, Cola Torsa was more than a lion. He represented the spirit of the savannah, fierce, resilient, and untamable. His courage in the face of impossible odds touched hearts and inspired admiration around the world. To many, he was the embodiment of the heart of a lion, a soul that never gave up, even when fate seemed inevitable. Today, the lands of Sabi Sand still carry the echoes of the Mapogos' reign. The tracks left by their paws, the scars on the trees where they sharpened their claws, and the roars that once resonated through the night are testaments to an era of glory. Cola Torsa may be gone, but he continues to live in the stories told and in the collective memory of the savannah. Because, in the end, the brightest stars may burn out the fastest, but their light remains eternal. And so, Cola Torsa, the king of the savannah, will never be forgotten. If you enjoy these fascinating documentaries about wildlife, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. Until next time.